I'm in an arranged marriage with my lifelong nemesis. But we got into a freak car crash right before the wedding. To keep things chill between us after tying the knot, I suddenly had a wild idea, fake amnesia. But who knew that once this woman found out, I lost my memory. She'd literally pinned me down on the bed. Just a hot minute ago, Jiang He and I were chilling in the car, heading to the bridal boutique to lock down the final wedding looks. The car was super roomy, but Jiang He and I sat on opposite ends. The gap between us was basically the Milky Way. I was scrolling on my phone, checking out the top trending topics online. And big surprise, they were all about Jiang Shang, the mega marriage between the Jiang and Shu families. A bunch of finance bros and influencers in the tags were hardcore analyzing and hyping it up. Even a total clueless newbie could tell this was a purely transactional, rich kid business marriage. The Jiang Group's official account tweeted, "Happy wedding," with a pic of Jiang He and me. We both looked salty and completely miserable in IT. Nobody in their right mind would call that happy. But the absolute worst part, I had a massive zit on my forehead in the pit. My mouth twitched. I zoomed in on the photo all the way and turned to give Jiang He a piece of my mind. "Jiang He, you..." The words were right there, but I choked them back. The wedding's in a few days. We barely managed to keep up this fake peace. Starting a fight now would ruin everything. I bit my tongue and went back to my phone, silently trying to chill out. But then Jiang He's husky, elegant voice hit my ears. "What now? What's your problem now? Does she think I Shu Qing and just full of drama?" The anger I just pushed down instantly flared right back up. I locked my phone screen, crossed my arms and raised an eyebrow. Looking at Jiang He resting against her seat, she still had that same careless, whatever vibe from when we were kids. It pissed me off even more. Jiang He seemed to catch my vibe. She lazily opened her eyes and slowly looked over at me, waiting for me to speak with total composure. A massive fight was basically about to pop off. My back subconsciously straightened. I tilted my chin up a bit. Right as I was about to clap back, I suddenly heard a piercing, ear-splitting screech of brakes. Before I could even process it, I was forcefully shoved into someone's embrace. An aggressive perfume filled my nose. Everything went pitch black. I couldn't see a damn thing. All I could hear were chaotic honking sounds from every direction. It felt like our car got sent flying, rolling and endlessly falling. I just felt a sharp, crushing pain in my shoulder. When I woke up, I found myself lying in a hospital bed. I tried to move my stiff body to sit up, but the second I bent my leg, I felt this agonizing, piercing pain. The cold white room was completely empty. I weakly laid back down, as flashes of the car crash kept replaying in my head, frame by frame. Jiang, hey, I wonder how she and the driver are doing. I stared blankly at the ceiling, but I just couldn't forget that intense, almost meltingly hot embrace. It even kept playing on a loop over and over in my mind. My face was burning up like I had a fever. I tried to cool it down with the back of my hand a few times, but it literally did nothing. What exactly did she mean by that? We've been hardcore rivals since childhood. Suddenly, an excited voice popped up in my head. But she saved you and held you tight in such a dangerous situation. Another gruff voice immediately clapped back. So what are you gonna do now? Actually, try to play nice with your nemesis. You're getting married. Of course you have to play nice. Are you sure she won't think you got body snatched? I shook my head hard, trying to snap out of my overthinking. I pulled the blanket over my head, completely covering my face. Honestly, it'd be great if I really was body snatched. That way, I would never remember what just happened. Wait, never remember. Ding it. A million cheesy romance novels I secretly stayed up reading, with amnesia and dramatic tropes, flashed through my mind. Instantly, I found my loophole, fake amnesia. I practiced alone in my hospital bed for ages, imagining every single reaction Jiang He might have. Now I just had to wait to see her. I don't know how long it had been, but the door finally opened just as I hoped. A doctor in a white coat walked into the room first, followed by Jiang He, whose forehead was wrapped in gauze. Her usually slicked back hair was now hanging softly over her forehead. She totally lost that careless slacker vibe she usually had. The two of them walked up to my bed. The doctor adjusted my IV drip and asked, "Mr. Yu, How are you feeling? Here we go. Here we go. Time to test my acting skills. I intentionally unfocused my eyes and put on a super clueless expression. I think I forgot some things. The doctor nodded like it was totally normal, pulled a pen out of his chest pocket, and started jotting things down. He didn't even give me a second glance. My gaze slowly shifted to Jiang He. I subtly squeezed my leg that was in a cast under the blanket. That familiar shooting pain instantly rushed through my whole body. I pouted my lips and opened my mouth with a sob. Wifey, this ultimate tone of grievance. And the way I dragged out the ending note. Honestly, if my parents were standing here right now, they probably wouldn't even recognize me. Jiang, he was clearly stunned. She completely froze up. The doctor stopped writing and looked over at Jiang He. It's likely that the trauma of the car crash has caused temporary cognitive impairment. We'll need to do a more detailed and comprehensive checkup for Mr. Xu later. Was I regretting it? But if I said I was just joking right now, I bet she'd literally throw me into a psych ward the very next second. So I just blinked, and the tears rolled down my cheeks. Jiang, he suddenly stepped closer, using her slender fingers to wipe away my tears. No cognitive impairment here. I really was her husband. Her hand gently caressed my face, giving me a tenderness I'd never felt before. My eyes went wide, completely spooked by her sudden move. I didn't dare move an inch. Jiang, he looked at me, seemingly lost in thought, smiled, and the next second, she cupped my face and planted a kiss right on my forehead. Don't cry, she coaxed softly. My heart skipped a beat and then started racing like crazy. This was totally off script. I imagined all sorts of ways she'd react to my amnesia, but never, ever this one. I just stared at her, totally clueless on how to react. But Jiang, he already stood up, tucked me in, and turned around to go fine. The doctor, who had slipped out at some point. I raised my hand and touched my forehead, my brain a total mess. Jiang He, did you get body snatched too? After another thorough checkup, I was sitting in a wheelchair, being pushed into the doctor's office by Jiang He. The doctor looked at the lab results and gave his conclusion. It's a post-traumatic stress syndrome from the car crash. It specifically manifests as temporary memory loss or confusion. There's no great treatment for it right now. The main focus is on rest and recovery. Jiang He frowned when she heard that and turned to look at me, chilling on the side. I immediately sat up straight and asked gently, "Is it really bad?" Jiang He raised an eyebrow, her eyes shifting slightly, like she found this version of me super entertaining. She let out a soft laugh, said goodbye to the doctor, and walked over to me. The moment her hands touched the wheelchair, my body went stiff, like I was sitting on pins and needles. We'd fought for years, so obviously I wasn't used to being this peaceful and close with her. I leaned forward a bit, trying to subtly pull away from the backrest, but a hand landed on my left shoulder, pressing me firmly back against the seat. "What are you hiding from?" Jiang, he looked down at me, her voice teasing. "Aren't I your wifey?" My temple throbbed. I gently gritted my teeth. For a split second, I thought my brain actually did get knocked loose. Otherwise, how could I have lost my mind and called her wifey? I really brought this on myself. Taking a deep breath, I looked up at Jiang He, ready to max out my innocent, helpless persona. I've been sitting too long. I just wanted to stretch a little. My tone was super pathetic, even carrying a hint of a whine. How could wifey say that about me? Jiang He looked at me, her eyes lingering on my face for a bit, and then she curled her lips in satisfaction. My bad. I was speechless. What the d? Since when did you love hearing that word so much? Jiang He's assistant, Zhao, had already pulled the car around. Getting in, Jiang He gently and carefully lifted me into the backseat. When I accidentally glanced up, I saw Assistant Zhao giving us this total "I'm shipping it" look. Jiang He, your assistant is just as weird as you are right now. The Bentley drove into the South City Villa district, stopping in front of a 3-story duplex-style mansion. This was the marital home our families prepped for us, but neither of us had ever set foot in it before. Our new home. Jiang He's reflection showed in the window. She was leaning lazily against the seat, half smiling. Did you forget this too? Crap, first time faking amnesia. I had no idea if I was supposed to remember this or not. I pulled my gaze back from the window. Just as I was about to answer, I heard a soft chuckle. Then I saw her turn and step out, opening the car door on my side. He leaned one arm on the door and held her other hand out to me, looking totally wild and unbothered. Seeing me look, she raised an eyebrow, her tone surprisingly serious. "If you forgot, you forgot." She paused, then suddenly leaned in, dropping her voice low. "Let wifey jog your memory." The car door was half open. The dim yellow streetlights slanted into the car, adding a touch of warmth to the chilly night. She stood against the light, the glow outlining her striking eyes. I was totally dazzled by the smile in her eyes. My heart skipped a beat. In a daze, I took her slightly cool hand. He's smile deepened. The second my feet hit the ground, she scooped me up by the waist, adjusting her grip effortlessly. The Bentley behind us zoomed off, not daring to stay a second longer. He walked into the courtyard, saying with amusement, "Every single plant in this yard was planted exactly to your taste." I looked at the pavilions and water features, rockeries, pools, all dotted with green bamboo. Super aesthetic and zen. It definitely was my vibe. But what does that have to do with you, He? As far as I know, before this, you were living in a completely different apartment. I pursed my lips, kind of speechless. It was pitch black inside. A faint, floral scent hung in the air. He supported me with one arm and flicked on the mansion's lights. The massive mansion had 0 maids around, but the furniture was perfectly arranged, brand new and spotless. After he set me down on the couch. She just stood right in front of me. I stared at her sharp jawline, clueless about what she was gonna do. I watched he suddenly lean down. After locking eyes for a few seconds, she slowly closed in on me with total aggressive energy. My heart started racing. I instinctively leaned back, watching her on high alert. "What are you doing?" He's lips curved into a slight smirk. She reached for the throw pillow next to me and tucked it behind my back. "Someone's mobility challenged." He teased, her tone playful. "Shouldn't your wifey take good care of you?" Little flames of annoyance sparked in my chest. "Wifey? Wifey my ass. You might as well tattoo that on your forehead." I took a deep breath, putting on a fake innocent soft boy act. "Thank you, wifey. Wifey is the best." He went, amusement flooding her eyes, as she lazily leaned back against the sofa. But no way was I letting her chill. I looked around the mansion's layout, turned to who had just sat down, and casually started. "So, did wifey pick out and arrange all of this so carefully?" He leaned back a bit, looking completely relaxed, her voice calm and lazy. "Who else but me? Acting so confident and righteous." I blinked, throwing out a demand. With a hint of mischief in my tone, "I'm a little thirsty." He paused, raising an eyebrow, giving me a highly intriguing look. A second later, she took her time standing up, and purposely dragged out the word, "All right, I'll go find some for my CO shoe." The mansion's kitchen was huge. So huge you could only see he alone, rummaging through cabinets like crazy. I couldn't help but crack a smile. He's, and my wedding went down as scheduled a week later. During that week, our dynamic was actually pretty chill. Basically, she said her lines, and I acted my part. But since it was a business marriage, the wedding process wasn't too extra. Besides the formal lunch banquet, the real main event was the 8 p.m. rooftop gala. A ton of startups set up shop in Jiangcheng this year. The Jiang and Shu local corporations inevitably took a hit to max out our profits. Plus the fact he and I faked getting along perfectly in front of the elders. Both sides decided a marriage alliance would seal the partnership and stabilize the troops in both companies. Lately, both families were drowning in project planning. 0 time to care about our actual relationship status. Tonight was their prime networking event to swap intel with every industry. I'd never fantasized about my wedding, and I bet he never did either. For the two of us, it's just the difference between someone born to marry off and someone waiting to inherit the empire. But it wasn't tragic at all. The wedding march started playing. The heavy doors in front of us swung open. He wore a white mermaid gown, standing at the end of the aisle, looking ridiculously expensive. The venue was packed with guests. But, right now, you could hear a pin drop. I walked up to Jiang He and stopped. Suddenly, catching some low-key complicated feelings. Jiang He looked back at me, her deep eyes swirling with hard-to-read emotions. I grabbed the silver wedding ring from the tray next to me, and held her pale, slender hand. The second I was about to slide it on her ring finger, I paused and leaned in to look at her. Jiang He raised an eyebrow, tilting her head. "Wanna run away now?" She paused, then pushed her hand half an inch forward, the ring getting stuck right in the middle of her ring finger. "Isn't it a little too late for that?" I chuckled, leaned in, and pushed the ring all the way down. "Just worried, wifey had cold feet." Jiang He looked down with a soft smile. Without answering, she grabbed the men's ring, looking super focused as she slid it onto my ring finger. The next second, she leaned right in it, our lips pressed firmly together. That aggressive woody perfume brushed past my nose, bold and scorching hot. Even though it was just a quick peck, it still sent my heart into total overdrive. Jiang He's eyes went dark and deep, her voice low and smooth. "Mr. Shu, don't forget this next time." Promptly at 8 p.m., a crazy famous international symphony orchestra was already playing a sick flowing melody on the rooftop. Jiang He, rocking her pearl-white tight mermaid gown, looped her arm through mine. Under the flashing cameras of the press, we flashed happy, loved-up smiles. After the Jiang and Shu Su families gave a quick rundown on our latest collabs, the gala officially kicked off. All kinds of VIPs were mingling, chatting and laughing over clinking glasses. Except for one corner. That totally didn't fit the gala's vibe. It was the childhood squad Jiang He and I grew up without. Knowing them was actually all thanks to Jiang He. When we were kids, my parents were always grinding at work. Literally had zero time for me. Wanted to send me to daycare, but feared I'd be lonely. Later they hit it off with Jiang He's parents, who were just as obsessed with work, so they straight up dumped me next door at the Jiang's to play with Jiang He. The day I met them was also the exact day Jiang He and I officially became sworn enemies. I remember stepping into the courtyard. Little Jiang was figuring out what game to play today with the crew. I was wearing my favorite outfit, strutting up to them in my little leather shoes. Little Jiang He threw her hand up, suggesting we all play a shootout game. I pouted in annoyance and whined dramatically to the group of hyped-up girls cheering her on. "I want to play Prince and Knight." The girls all looked at each other awkwardly. Some fidgeted with their hands. Some just stared at the ground. It was obvious they didn't want to play, but felt bad saying no. But I was too young back then. Stubbornly standing in front of them, totally convinced they'd play with me. In the end, only little Jiang He stepped up, glaring at me with her fierce little baby face and said, "Princes don't even exist in the real world." A few seconds after hearing that, I ran crying back into the Jiang mansion, bawling my eyes out in front of Grandpa and Grandma Jiang. Little Jiang He got her butt whooped by Grandma Jiang that night, and got grounded for days. Thinking about little Jiang He's tear-streaked face back then, I couldn't hold back a laugh. Jiang He paused her steps, looked over at me. "What are you laughing at?" "Just you," I answered with a smile. But the next second, I bit my tongue. Damn, almost blew my cover. Not far away, Bai Ningbing was enthusiastically waving at Yusiu. From childhood, the whole courtyard crew was basically chilling over there, looking like a totally chaotic squad. But sorry guys, I, Shu Qing, have to pretend I have zero memory of y'all right now. Nothing. I pulled my gaze back, and nodded toward Bai Ningbing who was waving. "Wanna go over there?" Like, duh. Given how often they and Jiang He meet up for parties every other day, how could we not go over? Looks like it's time for an Oscar-worthy performance. I looked at Jiang He, waiting for her answer. The lighting on the rooftop was blurry and soft. The faint glow perfectly outlined her side profile. She followed my gaze toward Bai Ningbing, frowning for a second. Her thin lips pursed slightly. "Let's skip it for now." Did she forget this too? Jiang He dropped her hand from my arm. "Those are our childhood besties." I kept staring blankly at her. She let out a light laugh, reached up and flicked my forehead. "Not too hard, not too soft. You go ahead, I've got some stuff to handle." I met those eyes holding that lazy, playful smile. Something felt off, but I couldn't put my finger on it. Seeing I wasn't moving, Jiang he teased. Wow, didn't know my CU shoe was so clingy. I shook my head and started walking toward the corner. Halfway there, I looked back at Jiang He. She was still standing there, looking lazy as ever. Su bro, why didn't Sister He come over? Bai Nangbing handed me a drink, looking at Jiang He's back, sounding totally confused. I shot Bai Nangbing a look. How should I know? Aren't you guys married? How could you not know? Bai Nangbing started yapping, totally unsatisfied. I don't care. Shu bro, you gotta call Sister He over. Bai Nangbing was giving me a major headache. I had to just cave and say, all right. She just said she had stuff to do. She'll probably be over in a sec. Hearing that, Bai Nangbing instantly lit up. That's our Shu bro. What? Meng Ting, chilling on the other end of the circular sofa, laughed and chimed in. You should be calling him bro-in-law now. Right. Bai Nangbing slid over to me, clinked my glass, and smiled coyly. Bro-in-law. Again and again. That flirty, overly dramatic tone drilled into my ears. My eye twitched slightly. Practically gritting my teeth, I said. Bai Nangbing, smiling right at him. Don't make me smack you on such a beautiful night. Right as I said that, Bai Nangbing literally shoved his face right up to mine, closing his eyes like he was ready for it. Meng Ting just kicked him out of nowhere. Enough. If he actually hurts you, you're gonna cry about it. Bai Nangbing took the hit, but still cheekily leaned back in, saying, but honestly, never thought you two would actually end up together. I swirled the drink in my glass, my ears just ringing. Bai Nangbing, you literally never shut up. Of course, Bai Nangbing didn't care. He totally ignored me, and just kept yapping to himself. Remember when we were kids, and you two fought the absolute first time you met? Wasn't that partially your fault too? I was beyond speechless. Meng Ting threw his hands up, shrugged, like, not my problem. Bai Nangbing gave me a salty look, and argued, but after that, didn't she play pretend with you for half a month? He paused, then added bitterly, exactly half a month. I rubbed my temple, ignored him, and looked off into the distance. Who knew Bai Nangbing would suddenly get hyped again? He nudged my arm with his elbow, and pointed with his chin, following his gaze. I saw a young guy wearing a tux in the exact same color palette as mine. I narrowed my eyes. This was my and Jiang He's wedding gala. Logically speaking, any male guest with a shred of social awareness would avoid twinning with the groom, but this guy was built different. That's the Shen family's young master, Shen Shujing. Meng Ting looked over with us. Bai Nangbing clicked his tongue and added, those 3 years you were Mia. He was hardcore, simping for Sister He. Any event she showed up to, he never missed a single one. Honestly, I'm shocked. He even crashed your and Sister He's wedding. Suppressing my sudden annoyance, I just gave a soft, oh. Looking at his tux, it really rubbed me the wrong way. Not far away, Shen Shujing looked at me, raised his glass and gave me a little smile. A total flex. Bai Nangbing's excited voice buzzed in my ear. He's straight up trying to start beef with you. Shu bro. I didn't say a word, just raised my glass back, letting the custom diamond ring on my ring finger catch the light. It was gleaming. Start beef with what? I might have actually been missing from Jiangcheng for the last 3 years. But just as I was getting up to find Jiang He, Shen Shujing popped up right in front of me. Mr. Su, he started with a smile. That suit looks great. My eyes dropped to his outfit, and I nodded. Speaking of which, before Mr. Su came back to the country, I pre-ordered a similar suit too. They look almost identical. Shen Shujing's gaze lingered on me, and then he hit me with a fake apologetic smile. Hope you don't mind us matching fits. Was he talking about the suit, or the person? I leaned back, crossed my arms, looking at him like he was a joke. Mr. Shen, if you have something to say, just say it. I'm not really catching the hidden meaning here. I just meant there's a first come, first served rule. Shen Shujing countered. It's annoying when someone just randomly cuts in line. I let out a smirk. You're right. There's a first come, first serve. Ignoring this fragile little snowdrop, I turned to the 2 guys eagerly watching the drama unfold. I've only been abroad for 3 years. Has the circle changed this fast? Bai Nangbing instantly sat up straight. No way. Bro, he dropped his voice, but loud enough for everyone to hear perfectly. This guy has zero respect for you. Shen Shoujing's face instantly dropped. His smile slowly stiffened. I shot him a side eye, about to speak, when I saw Jiang He walking over. I hadn't told Bai Ningbing I was faking my amnesia, so I stood up, quickly went to Jiang He, and grabbed her hand. Looking a little salty, I asked, "Wifey, what's up?" Jiang He stood by my side, not moving an inch closer to him. Shen Shoujing plastered that proper smile back on Edu, looking at Jiang He a bit shyly, and said softly, "Miss Jiang, I felt like I was low-key getting cucked right now." Jiang He didn't even look his way. She turned to me and asked softly again, "What's wrong?" The drama you stirred up, literally, came knocking at my door. And you're asking me what's wrong? I blinked, looking at her super innocently. Mr. Shen said I got between you and him. Shen Shoujing's eyes went wide, like he couldn't believe I would just straight up snitch on him to Jiang He like that. He waved his hands, playing the victim. I didn't. Jiang He sized him up, and less than a second later, looked back at me. I don't know him. I purposely dodged Jiang He's gaze, looking away. Good thing you don't know him. Jiang He's voice had a hint of a laugh. Let's go check out somewhere else. I didn't answer, but my hand honestly just grabbed onto her arm. Jiang He looked over at Bai Ningbing and the guys, smiling politely. I'm gonna steal my shoo away now. Have fun. Bai Ningbing froze, and just dumbly nodded. Back at the mansion, it was already pushing 1 a.m. No. After washing up in the master bedroom, I sat on the massive soft bed. This whole week, Jiang He and I had been sleeping in separate beds. It was Jiang He who suggested it. Her excuse was that even though we got the license, we hadn't officially had the wedding yet. Obviously, I was totally fine with it. I might have amnesia, but that doesn't mean I want to share a bed with Jiang He. Even thinking that, I was still sitting on the bed, instinctively staring at the closed wooden bedroom door, watching the time tick by. There was zero movement outside the door. I gripped the thin blanket. The once smooth blanket was now completely wrinkled. I pursed my lips. This is for the best. Looks like it was just a business trip to her. Now I don't have to put on a lovey-dovey act anymore. Click. The bedroom door suddenly pushed open. Jiang He stood at the door in a black silk robe. The warm light from the hallway somehow softened her normally unbothered, wild vibe. I was randomly pissed off. Why are you here? The second it came out, I froze. My tone was way off. It literally sounded like I was a wife raging at her husband for staying out all night. Jiang He smirked. It's our wedding night. How could I leave my shishu alone in an empty bed? Saying that, she walked over to the other side of the bed and just casually got in it. Her signature scent started wrapping around me, completely messing with my head. Wasn't Shushu waiting for me too? Jiang He's eyes locked onto me, her voice dripping with this lazy, amused vibe. I couldn't believe it. Who's waiting for you? Jiang He raised an eyebrow, giving me this very intriguing look. Did Shushu get his memory back? Crap, I forgot about that. I squeezed my eyes shut, switched gears instantly, acting all hurt. I just thought wifey wasn't gonna come. If I don't remember, will wifey still be into me? Is the past really that important to you, wifey? I faked a choke and threw the question back at her. Jiang He looked amused, but that was still you. Besides, didn't I say? She paused, then added, wifey would jog your memory. You've been obsessed with me since the first time we met as kids. You were totally simping for me. You kept chasing me relentlessly until we finally got together this year. After that, you literally cried begging me to marry you. Jiang He tilted her head and smiled. And now we're married. I was floored. What kind of BS are you making up? I turned my head, instinctively about to clap back. But Jiang He suddenly reached out and grabbed my hand, pulling me in. A kiss landed out of nowhere. The whole essay of trash talk I had ready instantly evaporated. All I had left was my heart pounding out of my chest. I was low-key panicking. The kiss went deeper. Our bodies pressed tight against each other, our breathing completely mixed together. The weird part was, I didn't hate it. My hands were unconsciously gripping her robe. I leaned back a little, unable to take it. Jiang He, Her voice was low and steady, with this indescribable tenderness. Jiang, he finally let me go, but still buried her face in my neck, gently sniffing something. Her deep restrained breaths brushed against my skin. It tickled. I couldn't help but shrug my shoulders. But the arms wrapped around my waist just tightened their grip. I gently pushed, trying to put a little distance between us. Jiang Yi's eyes were dark and deep. She swallowed hard. No. I looked down, frantically searching for an excuse. At least wait until I get my memory back. Jiang Yi reached out a hand and slowly ran her fingers through my messy hair. Then we'll wait for Su. I secretly peeked at her and tentatively leaned into her a bit, my hands loosely wrapping around her waist. Jiang Yi let out a low, husky laugh, making my ears burn bright red. She patted my head, her voice super soft. Go to sleep, Shu. The moonlight cast scattered, broken shadows by the window. Looking at Jiang Yi's sleeping profile, my heart was still pounding like crazy. Jiang Yi, do you actually like me a little bit too? Not long after the wedding gala, Bai Ningbing started hyping me up again every few days. Shu bro, haven't seen you in days. Feels like years. Let's pull up and hang out this weekend. And remember to bring sister Hei. Is she your wife or my wife? Plus, if we go together, how am I supposed to keep up my act? I'd be totally exposed. I glanced over at Jiang Yi, who was leaning on the couch, reading documents, and looked back down to type. Ask her yourself. Bai Ningbing replied in literally a second. Shu bro, didn't you notice sister he is acting a bit weird? Last time at your wedding, she saw Meng Ting and me but didn't even come over. She looked at us like total strangers, as if typing wasn't enough to show how hurt he was. He spammed me with a bunch of voice memos. I tapped the first one, totally forgetting my phone was on speaker. Instantly, Bai Ningbing's dramatic wailing echoed throughout the whole mansion. Jiang Yi paused, flipping through her files. Her eyes lightly swept over my phone, then went right back to her documents. I frantically turned down the volume, comforting him with a massive headache. Maybe it was too dark and she didn't see you guys. Chill, she still loves you guys the most. Sister He. It took a minute for him to text back. Then remember to bring Sister He this weekend. Fine. I looked up at Jiang Yi again. I had no idea what she was thinking about right now. Her legs casually crossed. She hadn't turned a page of her file in ages. Jiang Yi raised an eyebrow and turned to look at me. I paused, cleared my throat, and started again. Wifey, Bai Ningbing wants us to pull up to a weekend party. That voice just now was Bai Ningbing. Jiang Yi totally dodged the question. I nodded and kept pushing. You want to go? Jiang Yi pursed her lips when she heard that, and said flatly, I'm passing. Too much going on at the company. Pretty busy. I pouted, mumbling under my breath. Never seen someone in their honeymoon phase this busy. I slipped on my slides and headed upstairs to the bedroom, leaving Jiang Yi alone in the living room. Honeymoon? Well, the weekend finally hit. The other side of the bed was empty the whole night. I washed up and went downstairs to grab a quick breakfast. In the living room, Jiang Yi was leaning back on the sofa with her eyes closed. The coffee table in front of her was piled with files. She looked like she was sleeping. Jiang Yi. She frowned slightly and opened her eyes. Her voice was a little raspy. Why are you sleeping here? I asked, confused. Jiang Yi's eyes locked onto me, and she didn't say anything for a hot minute. I bent down and waved my hand in front of her face. Jiang Yi suddenly grabbed my waving fingers. Her thumb rubbed against my wrist, sending a tingling sensation through me. You're awake? Jiang Yi's voice was low and husky. Go get changed. I pulled my hand back, subconsciously rubbing my wrist, totally lost. Change into what? Jiang Yi's lips curved up. She said casually, didn't you want to go on a honeymoon? Honeymoon? I was shook. Jiang Yi stood up, patted my head and said, yeah, we're going on a trip. Even when I was literally sitting on a private jet, I still couldn't process it. Next to me, Jiang Yi was resting with her eyes closed. So she pulled an all-nighter grinding through work, just so we could go on this honeymoon. I stared at Jiang Yi's side profile, and my heart inexplicably skipped a beat. I asked the flight attendant for a light blanket, and gently draped it over Jiang. Her eyebrows twitched slightly and she smiled. Before long, I knocked out too. When I woke up again, it was already 1 or 2 p.m. Jiang Yi was sitting on the bed, scrolling through financial news on her tablet. Looking super focused, I bit my lip, reached out, and gave her shirt a little tug. I'm up. Jiang, he grabbed my hand, gently massaging my fingertip. Does Xiu Shu want to get out of bed then? Yeah. I had half my face buried in the covers, my voice sounding muffled. Turns out Jiang, he and I were staying in a beachfront villa. You could see the entire ocean just standing inside. Down on the beach, there were a bunch of foreigners chilling and playing. Waves were constantly crashing onto the shore in the distance, smashing against the rocks and spraying tiny water droplets everywhere. I threw on some board shorts, grabbed my flip-flops, and stepped onto the soft, fine sand. Around 7:30 p.m. local time, outside the street shops, all kinds of neon lights started flickering on. Jiang, he took me to this half-outdoor restaurant. The place was strung up with fairy lights everywhere, and they were playing chill, soft instrumental music. Jiang, he sat across from me, her pale, slender fingers rhythmically tapping on the table. Catching my stare, she smiled, clearly in a good mood, and drawled lazily, "Am I that good-looking?" I froze for a sec, but didn't look away. After thinking about it for a hot minute, I finally spoke. What if I actually got my memory back? Jiang Yi's fingers paused. She leaned back lazily. Nothing would change. Her eyes locked onto mine, deep and intense. Her voice was super soft. You'd still be the Shu I like. I panicked and looked away, grabbing the cocktail on the table and taking a sip. My face was burning up, probably just because the drink was too strong. Yay. Jiang, he let out a low chuckle. What about you, Shu? What about me? I looked down, thinking, subconsciously pinching my index finger with my thumb. The instrumental track in the restaurant had finished at some point without me noticing. The very next second, You Don't Know Me started playing. I caught that signature scent that belonged only to Jiang he again. I finally looked up and gazed quietly at Jiang. Then, I like you too. Jiang, he swallowed lightly, her eyes darkening. Shu, say that again. I glared at her. If you didn't hear it, whatever. Jiang, he looked at me, smirking lightly. I heard it. I couldn't stop the corners of my mouth from turning up either. The next 3 or 4 days, the vibe between me and Jiang He was honestly super sweet. It finally felt like we were legitimately dating. We came back to Jiangcheng on a rainy day. Too much work had piled up over the vacation. So, the second we got off the plane, Jiang he headed straight to the office. I stood on the sidewalk waiting for the driver, aimlessly scrolling through my phone, checking out the latest news. Gossip. My phone suddenly buzzed like crazy. It was all messages from Bai Ninebing. Shu bro, you're back. That gossip thread is definitely fake. Don't actually buy into it. Before I could even process that, he sent another text a second later. Even if it's true, it's totally in the past. Trust sister A. I frowned, opened the browser, and searched Jiang He's name. The search bar suggestions immediately autofilled with Jiang He Shen Shujing. Clicking on the top trending thread, I saw this massive clickbait title, The Jiang Family Heiress and Her First Love. Soulmates meant to be, tragically torn apart by a third party. The whole post was just yapping about how Jiang and her first love Shen Shujing met in college and became super close. Everyone thought they'd tie the knot right after graduation. But, plot twist, another rich young master in Jiangcheng beat him to the punch. The whole thing was Loki calling this rich kid a homewrecker. And what a coincidence, that rich kid was literally me. I stood on the sidewalk, reading the massive wave of hate comments online. Some unhinged netizens had already swarmed the Shu Group's dead official account, flooding the comments with pure rage. Those 3 years again. The 3 years I studied abroad. I locked my phone screen, thinking back to Jiang He's reaction at our wedding gala. I totally zoned out. Assistant Zhao had already pulled the black Bentley up right in front of me. He got out, loaded my luggage into the trunk, and then opened the car door for me. Sir, CEO Jiang told me to come pick you up. I nodded without saying a word. Assistant Zhou checked my vibe, and suddenly added, CEO Jiang is still at the office handling business. I didn't look at him again, just got in the car and closed my eyes. The car drove slowly. All I could hear was the relentless sound of rain smashing against the window. It felt suffocating. My ringtone shattered the dead Suffocating silence. I opened my eyes and looked at the lit-up screen. Mom? I rubbed my temples and picked up the call. Shu Qing, are you on your way home? Jiang He and I are discussing the South City project. The proposal is in your study room. Help Mom find it. Where's Jiang He? I asked Assistant Zhao, who was driving. He glanced at me through the rearview mirror and quickly looked away. She's looking at documents. I closed my eyes, replying flatly, got it. The scenery outside the window sped backwards. Even the sky was just a depressing shade of gray. It was almost evening when we arrived at the mansion. I was rummaging through the study looking for the South City proposal. Randomly, I found a medical diagnosis certificate in a drawer. It was dated the exact same day that Jiang He and I got into the car crash before the wedding. Shu Qing's post-traumatic stress disorder act. I twitched my mouth. Flipping to the next page, Jiang He's temporary amnesia. I froze for a sec, then kept reading. The patient's brain suffered a severe impact, resulting in a degree of memory loss, unable to recall past experiences. I mumbled the symptoms written on the diagnosis. Besides this diagnosis, there was also an NDA signed by the attending doctor forbidding them from leaking any info about the patient to a third party, to avoid crashing the Jiang Group's stock price. So, Jiang He was the one who actually got amnesia. Because of the company's stock, she hid her condition from everyone, even put on an act like she never lost her memory. She perfectly played everyone. I went silent, thinking back to what Bai Ningbing told me that day. Shu bro, didn't you notice sister, he is acting a bit weird. She looked at us like total strangers. And Yu Xiang, he constantly rejecting the squad's invites. And at the wedding gala, when she said she didn't know Shen Shujing, I gripped the papers tightly in my hand. Jiang He, did she really not know him, or did she forget your feelings for me? Were they also just an elaborate act? After Assistant Zhao left with the proposal, I didn't know how long I sat in the study, until night fell, and the whole study was swallowed by darkness. Only then did I pick up my phone, which I had already muted. There were dozens of missed calls, all from Jiang He, a ton of unread messages on WeChat too. I opened Jiang He's chat. A link. Jiang Group's official statement clarifying the CEO's scandal today. The gist was slamming that gossip thread and announcing lawsuits against some of the hate comments. Shushu, I just got out of a meeting. Wait for me at home. About 10 minutes later, she sent another. I don't know him. The last message was sent a minute ago. I'll be home soon. Wait for me. I'm almost home. I sprang to my feet and hurried out. I didn't want to see her right now. Or rather, I was scared. I was scared to face Jiang He with amnesia. I was terrified. Terrified that she never actually liked me at all. I drove my car out of the garage, heading to the apartment I lived in before the wedding. Just as I was about to walk into the building, my phone rang. It was Jiang He. I swiped the green accept button. Su Yu. Jiang. He's voice trembled slightly, carrying an anxiety I'd never heard before. I cut her off flatly. Jiang He. I lied to you. A brief pause. Then I spoke again. I never had amnesia. Maybe just for kicks. I faked it after that car crash. Sorry for stringing you along. I don't want to play pretend anymore. So, you don't have to try so hard putting on that act either. I could hear her erratic breathing through the receiver. I hung up. Later, Jiang He called a few more times. I didn't pick up. Back in my familiar home, I habitually sat in the lounge chair by the window. Dead silence all around. The lights in the neighborhood gradually went out. My floor wasn't too high, so I could still see some of the complex. But right now, everything outside was swallowed by the night, looking blurry and unreal. A beam of light pierced from a distance, cutting through the dark, slowly getting closer, finally stopping sharply downstairs. It was the silver sports car Jiang He parked in the villa garage before. I instinctively stood up and went to the window, wanting a better look. I didn't expect to lock eyes with Jiang He, who was looking right up here. She was leaning against the car, still wearing the same outfit she had on when getting off the plane today. I lowered my eyes and closed the curtains. The phone beside me lit up a few seconds later. It was a WeChat message from Jiang He. Good night, Su Su. I slept like trash. My dreams were just a highlight reel of memories with Jiang He. 1 second, it's us bickering as kids. The next, it's our married life. When the skies started getting light, I went back to the floor-to-ceiling window. The silver sports car was slowly driving towards the complex exit. I bit my lower lip and closed the curtains again. I thought Jiang he wouldn't come back. Who knew she'd be downstairs for days straight, and then she'd drive off early the next morning. On wet chat. Besides, a daily goodnight. There was literally nothing else. It had been pouring in Jiangcheng these past few days. When I got a call from my dad, it was the day it rained the hardest. Shu-ching. Dad sounded like he just left the airport. The rain was pouring down. Why does it have to be raining the second I get back? He kept complaining. But the next second he added, whatever, I'm just gonna go travel again. Maybe ask Mom if she's cool with that first. I felt helpless. Dad got hardcore addicted to short videos recently. One day, he probably saw a travel vlog and got totally brainwashed by the cheesy captions. He immediately decided to go on a spontaneous trip, just ruthlessly ditched my workaholic mom, and flew straight to his destination. He only just got back to Jiangsheng today. After chatting for a bit, he finally got into the family car. How are things with you and Jiang? I froze. Pretty good, I guess. She's a good kid. Dad kept talking on the other end. Back when we were picking out your new place, she literally handled everything herself. Didn't let us worry about a single thing. New place? I was confused. Your villa, duh. From picking the spot to the interior design, little Jiang did it all hands-on. Long after the call ended, I was still stunned. That villa, the one neither of us had ever stepped foot in, she set it all up herself. So when she told me that day that every single plant in the yard was planted exactly to my taste, she wasn't just joking. But how did Amnesiac Jiang he know that? The rain got even heavier at night. Massive raindrops viciously smashed against the window, leaving streaks of water. Downstairs, that silver sports car was still parked there, quietly waiting. I gripped my phone and opened Jiang he's chat. I kept typing and deleting and typing. After hesitating for ages, I finally hit send. It's pouring. Wanna come up? No reply. A second later, my phone lit up with a white glow. Open the door. So you already figured out my building's code and my apartment number. Jiang, he stood at the door. Her dress was a bit wet, clinging slightly to her slender waist. Her dark hair had water droplets in it too, messily scattered across her forehead. Those eyes that used to be so lazy and cocky were now wet and sad. I blinked. Right now, she looked like a pathetic, soaked golden retriever. Jiang he took a step forward and grabbed my hand. Her voice was a little hoarse. Shu-su. I caught that faint scent on her mighty guy. Seeing I didn't react, she squeezed my fingertips, still calling out in a super low voice. Shu-su. I sighed inwardly and gave a soft, I grabbed her cold hand back and led her into the living room. It's been raining all day. You don't have an umbrella in the car. I handed her a clean towel. Jiang He took it but just draped it over her head. After a long pause, she finally said awkwardly, it broke. What? Jiang He looked away. The umbrella broke. Looking at the soaked golden retriever on the couch, I couldn't hold back a laugh. Did you just break it? Jiang He seemed to catch my quick laugh. Those dark, wet eyes stared at me without blinking. There was a hint of playfulness in them. Shoo. I stood beside her, one knee resting on the sofa, reaching out to dry her hair with the towel. Jiang he pushed her luck and wrapped her arms around my waist, her body slowly inching closer to me. Jiang he, feeling her damp body. I called her name as a warning. She didn't budge. She just leaned harder against me. Jiang he, I'm fully convinced you're playing the pity card right now. But unfortunately, Shu Qing, seemed to be totally weak to it. Go shower first. I pushed her a bit, trying to create some space. Jiang he heard me and just rubbed her head against me twice. I touched her half-wet, half-dry dress. If you get sick, it's gonna hurt my heart. So less than a few seconds later, the woman got up and headed to the bathroom. I brought a glass of warm water into the guest bedroom. Jiang, he was sitting on the bed. Her hair was fluffy and dry. Obviously, she just blow-dried it. I put down the water and was about to leave the room. Su, Jiang, hey, stood up and grabbed my hand. I'm sorry. I stopped and glared at her, mumbling under my breath, only saying, sorry now. I heard Jiang he let out a soft laugh. Then, a pair of hands wrapped around my waist. My waist tightened. By the time I reacted, Jiang he was already sitting on my lap. I thought you didn't want to see me, she explained. Plus, an apology is only sincere if done face to face. Jiang he's voice was low and slightly husky, right by my ear, tickling my heart. So you're saying I wasn't sincere? Asking me to apologize? I glared at her, slightly annoyed. No, Jiang he immediately denied it, her tone quite gentle. Shu's apology was the most sincere. She looked up at me, a faint smile in her eyes. I couldn't help but touch her face. Are you still Jiang he? I asked tentatively. Jiang he chuckled. When she realized what I meant, she let out a helpless laugh. Shu, I got amnesia. My soul didn't get swapped out. Then you, I mumbled vaguely. Jiang he didn't hear me clearly and leaned in a bit. What? I took a deep breath and quickly repeated myself. Will you still like me after you get your memory back? Honestly, from start to finish, this was the only thing I was stressing over. My hand brushed across her cheek. Jiang he gently leaned into my touch and answered softly. Didn't I tell you, you'll always be the Shu I like? The corners of my mouth curled up. I was low-key thrilled and couldn't hide it, but I still clapped back stubbornly. You never know. Jiang he was almost annoyed into fully waking up. She wrapped one arm around my waist and used the other to pull out her phone, unlocked it, and handed it to me. I was confused. Why are you randomly making me check your phone? Jiang he raised an eyebrow. Open it and look. I took the phone and immediately opened WeChat, warning her. Don't get cocky. Why? Haven't you heard? I gave Jiang he a look. There's a saying on the internet. No man can walk out of a woman's phone smiling. Jiang he just went, ha, her tone teasing. Well, my Shu might just be the exception. I ignored her and focused on the phone. Honestly, there wasn't much to snoop on. Her chat list was mostly just strictly business names. Only I was pinned to the very top, and my contact name was Hubby. I thought for a second and slowly typed Shen Shujing in the search bar. No matching contacts. I gave the phone a satisfied little shake. Not bad. Jiang he looked at me, amused. Just not bad. Yep, I dragged out the word, looking totally smug. Jiang he took the phone back, wrapped her arms around me, so we could both see the screen at the same time. She tapped into her WeChat moments and said softly, look at this. Her slender fingers slowly scrolled down the screen. I saw a ton of posts set to only me, but every single one was about me. It looked like she started logging this back in high school. From secretly roasting me at first, calling me a bougie, show-off white peacock, to slowly dropping words like cute and like more often. Every post was the ultimate proof of a girl's first crush over all those years. There was a 3-year gap in the middle. That was when I was studying abroad. The next post after the break was the exact date of our arranged marriage when I got back. And the very last post was on the day of our car crash. My face slowly started burning up. It was literally hot to the touch. I couldn't stop my lips from curving up. So, Jiang he, you've been secretly simping for me for that long. Jiang he saw my smug ass expression and couldn't resist planting a kiss on me. Lovely. She paused, then added, and those feelings are still going strong. So all those times you fought with me, you were just trying to get my attention. Jiang he's eyes crinkled with a smile. She pretended to think hard. Who knows? I lightly punched her shoulder. You better remember real quick. The smile in her eyes deepened, and she took the chance to pin me down. Can we sleep now, hubby? I wrapped my arms around Jiang he, took the initiative to kiss her, then tilted my chin up. Permission granted. Jiang he didn't move. She looked down at me, her gaze turning intense. The arm around my waist slowly tightened. She reached up to cup my face, dropping kiss after kiss on me. In a daze, I heard her husky voice say, Shu. I want you. The next day, Jiang he and I moved back to the South City villa. Life back at the villa was even more laid back than before. Before heading to the office, Jiang he would come back to the bed and kiss me while I was still under the covers. When she got off work, she'd often bring a gift home. Sometimes a bouquet of flowers. Sometimes some aesthetic food I shared with her online. I constantly had this urge to flex her to everyone. But, sadly, my WeChat contact list was full of fake, plastic friends. So, Bai Ningbing and Meng Ting became the ones forced to choke on our PDA. Today's vibe. Jiang, he bought me a literal star. Attached was a pic of an asteroid naming certificate. Just seconds later, Bai Ningbing's voice memo came through exactly as expected. Enough already, Shuro, my single dog life matters too. This clown cracked me up, making me smile. Sitting next to me, Jiang, he had her arm around my waist, scrolling through the news on her tablet with one hand. I looked up from her embrace. Jiang, he, do you really have zero memory of them? Jiang, he leaned in and kissed me. She replied in a low voice. Don't remember. Bai Ningbing is throwing another party this weekend. Wanna go check it out? I tugged at Jiang He's shirt. Maybe it'll jog your memory. Alright, I totally didn't expect that Jiang He would end up having even more paperwork to deal with this weekend than on weekdays. I was chilling at home waiting for her, so we could head out to the spot together. It wasn't until way past normal clock-out time that she finally called to say she was on her way back. Twilight started rolling in. Jiang he still wasn't home. By the time my custom ringtone for her went off, it was already pitch black outside. Hello, I'm a doctor at Jiangshan Hospital. The patient fell into a coma due to a car crash. She's currently undergoing tests at the hospital. Please, get here as soon as possible. 3 minutes later, I sprinted out of the house in a panic. On the way to the hospital, I drove while calling Assistant Zhou. It was a rear-end collision, but for some reason, CEO Jiang passed out. She's in examination right now. I slammed the gas pedal, speeding up. When I finally reached the ward door, the doctor just happened to be walking out. I rushed forward and asked frantically, Doctor, I'm Jiang, his husband. How is she doing right now? The patient is already awake. Some scrapes on the head, and a small amount of blood in the brain has been slowly absorbed. No major issues right now. You can process her discharge shortly, but she'll need to come back for a follow-up check. My nerves, strung tight the entire ride, finally relaxed a bit, but when it clicked, I froze. Does that mean her amnesia is cured too? The doctor nodded and hurried off to the next ward. The hospital lights were blindingly bright. Jiang He, wearing a baggy hospital gown and gauze wrapped around her forehead, had already sat up on the side of the bed. I stood at the door, too scared to take even half a step forward. Jiang He seemed to sense something and turned to look my way. My heart raced, but I unconsciously held my breath. When Jiang He saw me, her right eyebrow twitched and raised slightly. What are you standing there looking dumb for? Her tone had that familiar, lazy, careless vibe. She smirked and slowly drawled, Aren't you gonna come kiss your wife? My nose stung. I speed walked over to Jiang He and pulled her into a tight hug. Jiang He hugged me tightly back.